What's up, guys? Welcome back to Nightly Crypto. I'm Nightly. Today we're talking about the law of supply and demand. And the reason I want to talk about the law of supply and demand has to do with the recycling going on in the adoption amplifier, creating infinite demand. And like I said, this is the law of supply and demand. And first of all, I couldn't even believe people's response after I made my latest video about the recycling, because I've been talking about the possibility of recycling for a while, but I didn't know it was really happening, and I really hoped it wasn't happening up until that point. And I received nothing but aligned views. It wasn't until I made a video showing evidence that the recycling was happening through the adoption amplifier that people came out of the woodwork and they think it's okay. It's like, wow, I don't know what type of, poison Kool-Aid that Richard is trying to make you drink to think that recycling through the adoption amplifier is okay. And by the way, it has nothing to do with where does the ETH go. That's way different, and I'm going to show you how now through the law of supply and demand. And like I said, it's a law. It's, like the law of gravity. You can't argue with it. You can't debate with it. You can't feel differently. It's just a thing. It's like a math problem. 2 + 2 = 4. Demand and supply affect the price. And I'm going to tell you how. So everything in this world, every commodity, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be HEX, whether it's gold, whether it's the produce you buy at the grocery store, whether it is a new bike, everything has a price. And that price is affected by the law of supply and demand. There's supply and there's demand. These two things that kind of work together and determine what the price is. And here's how it works. If supply is up, there's more of that thing, so people will pay less for it. However, if the supply goes down and there's less of that thing, people will pay more for it. Demand, when there is more demand, there's more people wanting that thing, so they'll pay more for it. And when there's less demand, they're going to pay less for that thing. So those two things combined determine the price. So supply up and demand down, the price is going to go down. Supply down, demand up, it's going to go up. If there's some combination, well, then it works together. And if there's more, if the supply decreases a little bit, but the demand goes up a lot, well, the price is still going to go up. So whichever increases more kind of wins. And that's a law. That is something that's going to happen. You can't fake it out. You can't. There's no other factors. So I get really frustrated with these people who think that you can just, HEX is going to go up because of speculation. You don't understand what you're talking about. You don't understand what you mean. Like, okay, so Bitcoin went up because of crazy FOMO in 2017. But what actually happened? More people onboarded and paid more money to buy Bitcoin, because the only way to make Bitcoin go up is for more people to buy more dollars worth of Bitcoin. So you had people putting money on, maxing their credit cards to make the money available to buy Bitcoin. You had people getting second mortgages on their house. You had people taking out, small business loans and putting it all into Bitcoin. They were, there was a certain amount of people who increased the demand by creating more money and buying it. They bought it. That's very key. The price went up because they bought it, not because they got excited about Bitcoin, not because, they were FOMO. It was the fact that they bought it with their money. The same is true in HEX. Oh, and by the way, the Bitcoin supply, it only increases by a little bit. So that makes the supply go down. But that's compared to the demand, especially the demand in 2017. Blockchain rewards for, mining a block of Bitcoin, that really didn't affect anything because that's such a tiny little increase in the supply. HEX is similar, but it works like this. So the supply in HEX is 511 million a day. That goes out to people. Of course, origin address gets a copy, and there's actually a lot more going out to that we didn't know about. unless you like read the contract and understood how HEX works. But let's just say for now 511 a day, every single day until the adoption amplifier ends. After the adoption amplifier ends, there's actually quite a lot of HEX coming due as well. So let's look at this. 500 million, 2.18 billion, 3.5 billion. There's, 4 billion, 5 billion. Let's just say this is 6 or 7 billion right here in the first month after the big payday. That's billion. And we are only, 70 something days into it? We still have 277 more days to go. And so how many, there's, people who will make shorter stakes, because they're laddering in or doing whatever. There's people that are going to be having stakes end during this first month here and, subsequent months right after the big payday. That's going to add to the supply because, we're only like a few months into it right now. It's not going to end till November. You also have to factor in the people's liquid supply because I guarantee you on the big payday, 100% of HEX is not going to be staked. You're still going to have some that hold it liquid. It's not smart. They should at least have it in a 1-day stake or something, but that's just what's going to happen. So you're going to have tens of billions of supply in just a matter of a few days, if not more. So the supply is going to increase. So even before I learned that the recycling was happening, I knew, I made videos about this. The supply was going to be increasing. And so what do we know is going to happen to the price when the supply increases and the demand remains the same? So unless there's hundreds of thousands of people, or at least tens of thousands of people coming on board and paying more and grabbing up all that supply, which why would there be? They would be coming in at least before the launch period. I doubt there's going to be tens of thousands of people that join, the first week after the payday. The supply is going to increase. The price is going to go down. Is that speculation? Is that my opinion? No, it's the law of supply and demand. Supply is going to go up massively. Demand remains the same. So unless 10,000 people join and decide to dump in, thousands of dollars each, they're not going to be able to buy that stuff up. Price is going to drop. It's just math. That's how it works. Now let's talk about demand. And this is why recycling is so bad. This is what I'm trying to explain to people, and I can't believe so many people don't get it. So right now there's a certain demand. And a lot of people that are already in HEX, they've already spent most of their WAD. There's some people that spend all of their WAD on the first few days. There's some people that spent all of their WAD in the first month. A lot of people that, now that it's day 70 have spent most or all of their WAD of what they can afford to put in. There's still some people with dollar cost averaging. There's still some people with big bags. Yeah, that's true. But for the most part, if you're talking about, all the people we have onboarded to HEX, a lot of the demand has already been put in. And since they've already bought in, the only way to increase the demand higher than it is right now is for them to buy it. Remember, they have to buy it. They can't just, get excited about it and think the price higher. They would have to buy it. So I don't see people, dipping into their savings accounts, putting this on credit cards, remortgaging their house when Bitcoin went up 8x. I didn't see any of that. There was a little bit of FOMO. Some people were like, oh, maybe I'll, take some more money out and put some in. But relatively little, and then that stopped quickly. And now, the demand is going down, 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 down. But instead what's happening is that there's this artificial demand. I'm going to say again, artificial, synthetic, fake, propped up demand that is created by recycling ETH. So I don't care about Richardheart getting rich. I could care less about that. I could care less of what he decides to buy with his Ethereum. But this is very different from buying something with that Ethereum that goes into the AA and then using that to recycle it every single day back through and back through and back through the adoption amplifier. That is cheating because you're creating a fake demand that's not there and that can't be maintained after the big payday. This is the crux of it. This is why it's so bad. And what people don't understand is they think it's going to spark adoption. So first of all, let's see, did it spark adoption? No. We had a FOMO for a few days, and then no more users. Nobody joined. The price went up 8x. Who joined? Nobody. The people in the HEX chat, it used to be over 20,000. It was going down. The amount of organic Ethereum, take out Richard's recycling amounts, which was like 80% some days. Take out that 80% supply, what was left? Just a few hundred Ethereum, lowest ever. No adoption. So first of all, the recycling wasn't working. And second of all, you can't use fake propped up stuff to be able to spark adoption. First of all, it doesn't work. Well, it would only work if it brought adoption for new people and those new people decided to put in a lot of money. But they didn't. And even if they did, at the end of the big payday, the amount of energy, just like this math equation right here, so however many dollars worth of energy got put in, recycled to prop this up, the exact amount would be come back, with a vengeance, and the exact amount of energy would come back after the big payday once recycling became impossible to crash the price. And that on top of the fact that there's going to be a ton of supply as well. So I already knew the price was going to tank after the big payday just because the supply was going, bonkers. Tons of supply becoming available. But now knowing that 80% of the demand is fabricated, and we're going to crash 80% of the demand and increase the supply by a lot too, the price is I'm talking dumpster. That price is going to dumpster. So guys, this is it right here. You can't change it. There's no debate on this. It's a simple mathematical equation, and you can't change it. You can't think the price differently. You can't magically do anything with the price. There's only two things that affect the price. Less supply, having less supply, which, I already showed you how much supply is coming available, and more demand. And how do you create more demand? Not artificial demand that's going to go away after the big payday, but more organic demand by onboarding people who decide to put money into buying HEX. Because like I said, the only way the price goes up is if the demand increases. And yes, Richard was able to make the price go up 8x artificially, but look how long that lasted. Now it's crashing, and it was crashing way before I decided to make any videos as well. So don't blame me for that, because it's not my truth and my raising awareness to the community to keep them from being, stolen from and diluted. That's the problem. It's the fraud, the recycling, the artificial propping up of the price, the fake demand that can't be maintained, and that's fake, that is the crux of the problem here. So don't be fooled, guys. Richard is a very charismatic guy. He's able to talk well. He's able to fool a lot of people. But this is a malicious project that he is propping up fakely, and you're going to lose your money, or at least have it really devalued if you aren't super, super careful about it. The other reason why, another reason why adoption isn't happening is because Richard is getting 50% of the supply to himself with the origin address. So we're talking lots of money right there. Adoption isn't going to happen when they know that there's a 50% founder's fee. That's really bad. No one wants to make Richard a trillionaire. He already got $10 million from the Ethereum. We don't want him to control this coin that he hawks as something that's decentralized and good. No way. That's malicious, especially when he is artificially propping up the price, hogging all that HEX to himself, by the way. Yeah, he's adding it to liquidity, but he could remove it whenever he wants. He's got tens of millions of dollars. He's going to have much more as well by the end of the adoption amplifier, and that just doesn't seem like a good investment. So you can charge whatever price you want, but you can't make people buy it and I'm not buying into HEX anymore. I hope you guys aren't either. So that's what I got to say. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more crypto videos and more videos on HEX as well, and I will see you in the next one.